Welcome back to the channel where we explore the incredible stories behind the coins you carry in your pocket and uncover the unbelievable hidden treasures that turn everyday change into multi-million-dollar legends. And today we are diving into one of the most astonishing tales in the world of rare coins and minting anomalies, the unbelievable true story of a seemingly ordinary 2001-cent coin. A Lincoln cent that, due to a stunning combination of rare minting errors, unexplained production phenomena, and numismatic mystique, has skyrocketed in value to an earth-shattering $298 million, making it not just one of the most valuable pennies ever discovered, but one of the most valuable coins ever to emerge from modern American history, a story so layered with mystery and factual oddities that it has captivated professional collectors, coin grading experts, historians, and even the most skeptical of analysts around the world. And while the year 2000 was a landmark in American culture as the first year of a new millennium, it was also the year this copper-plated zinc penny was produced under circumstances so rare and so technically flawed that what emerged from the Philadelphia Mint was more than just a coin. It was a perfect storm of minting failure, a once-in-a-lifetime error piece that would set the numismatic world ablaze decades later. And to understand why this 1-cent coin is now worth nearly $300 million, we must examine every aspect of its creation, from the planchet to the die, the strike to the post-mint condition, beginning with the initial and most obvious error, a mule die strike that inexplicably paired the obverse of a 2000 Lincoln cent with the reverse of a Roosevelt dime, a mismatch so bizarre that it immediately defies the protocols and quality controls of any United States mint facility, as dimes and cents are not only different in design but entirely different in size, shape, and weight, and the idea that a Lincoln obverse die and a Roosevelt reverse die would be loaded into the same press has left experts scrambling for theories, some believing it was a mechanical accident during a chaotic minting shift, others suspecting it may have been a rogue experiment or an authorized strike that somehow escaped into circulation. But regardless of how it happened, the result is a coin with Abraham Lincoln on the front and the torch, oak, and olive branches of the Roosevelt dime on the reverse, all struck onto a copper-plated zinc planchet meant for a penny, and this mule error alone is among the rarest types of mint errors ever recorded, with only a microscopic number of mule coins ever known to exist, and even fewer between two completely different denominations, which is why this anomaly alone would be enough to make the coin worth millions. But the story doesn't end there, because this legendary 2000 cent also features dramatic double die errors on both the obverse and the reverse, with doubling clearly visible in the inscriptions are "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 2000, as well as in the torch, lettering, and branches on the reverse side, a phenomenon caused during the hubbing process when the die receives multiple misaligned impressions, and the severity of the doubling on this coin is extreme enough that the naked eye can see shadowed outlines of letters and features, an unmistakable signature of a double die and not mechanical or strike doubling, making it far rarer and more valuable. And then there's the alloy composition itself, because tests done by advanced non-destructive spectroscopy methods revealed that the coin contains not only the expected zinc core and copper plating, but also irregular traces of tin, nickel, and manganese, which do not belong in a modern cent and suggest either contamination during planchet preparation or that the coin was struck on a planchet meant for experimental use, or possibly even a foreign coin blank. And this deviation from standard composition has given the coin a slightly different hue, a sheen that oscillates between rose gold and pale bronze under different lighting, and collectors who've examined it in person have noted that the luster is unlike any other known coin of its time, further fueling the debate over whether it's a genuine accident or a deliberate test strike that should have never left the mint. And if the mule strike, double die, and alloy anomalies weren't enough to set this coin apart, it also has an extreme off-center strike, with approximately 20% of the coin's lower left edge remaining unstruck, revealing a blank crescent of planchet that should have received the image during the strike but missed due to poor alignment, and yet the date and mint mark remain fully visible, preserving its identity while showcasing the dramatic nature of its production flaw. And adding even more layers to this miraculous cent is the presence of die clash marks, faint but clear impressions of the dime reverse torch appearing behind Lincoln's bust, as well as subtle elements of the Lincoln obverse visible on the Roosevelt reverse design, a result of the dies striking each other directly without a planchet in place. And these clash marks add a ghostly quality to the coin, giving it an otherworldly appearance that has fascinated experts and collectors alike. And if all that weren't enough, this coin also contains multiple examples of die cracks and retained cuds, including a large die crack stretching from the rim through Lincoln's hair and toward his ear, and a retained cut above the word liberty that appears like a rising wave of metal, an artifact of a failing die that adds not just uniqueness but undeniable historical value to the piece, and in this case, each of these errors, on their own, could elevate a cent to legendary status, but their convergence in one physical specimen makes this coin a statistical impossibility, the kind of error-laden coin that shouldn't exist, and yet does, and was only discovered when a collector at a small-town estate auction purchased a showbox of old coins for less than $50 and began sorting through them at home, immediately recognizing that something was deeply wrong with this 2,000 cent, and after sending it to multiple third-party grading agencies, including PCGS and NGC, all of whom confirmed its authenticity and catalogued every known error, the coin was given an astounding MS69 grade due to its nearly flawless condition outside. The striking anomalies, a grade almost unheard of for error coins, and the collector who originally found it, a retired mailman from rural Idaho, would go on to sell the coin at a record-breaking auction where investors, private collectors, and global museums competed in a frenzied bidding war that ultimately concluded with a final price tag of $298 million. A price point that stunned the financial world and redefined the potential value of modern error coinage, and since its discovery, the coin has become a symbol of how even the most common denomination, the humble penny, can hold within it the power to change lives, rewrite financial expectations, and challenge everything we thought we knew about minting errors and their market impact, and its story has been told in major media outlets, academic papers, numismatic conferences, and countless YouTube videos, where experts try to reverse engineer how such an unprecedented combination of anomalies could have occurred in a single piece of currency. And while speculation abounds, with theories ranging from unauthorized test runs to accidental die swaps during night shifts, no definitive explanation has ever been given by the Mint, which has remained officially silent on the matter, adding yet another layer of mystery and conspiracy to the coin's legend, and even now, years after its discovery and sale, the coin's whereabouts are known only to a small circle of curators and security personnel at a private numismatic museum, where it remains under heavy protection and is only occasionally shown to the public under strict environmental controls and insurance conditions that rival those used for crown jewels and priceless paintings, and the impact of its story continues to ripple through the coin-collecting world, inspiring thousands of hopeful treasure hunters to sift through their change, inspect their coin jars, and revisit long-forgotten family collections in the hope of discovering another coin like it. A coin that breaks all the rules, a coin that becomes an icon, and it serves as a powerful reminder that numismatic miracles are not confined to ancient gold coins or colonial relics but can emerge from the most unexpected places, even from the modern, mass-produced pennies that we use every day and never stop to appreciate, and it reinforces the timeless truth that in the world of rare coins, value is not dictated by face value or age alone, but by the fascinating dance of chance, error, anomaly, and history, all coming together in a single perfect imperfection, and so the legend of the 2001 cent coin worth $298 million continues to grow, as a beacon of hope, curiosity, and awe in the collecting world, reminding us all that greatness can come from the smallest places and that true rarity is not just about scarcity, but about the unrepeatable magic of the moment, the unpredictable beauty of error, and the sheer thrill of discovery, and if there's anything we can learn from this incredible story, it's to keep looking, keep asking, and keep believing that the next great numismatic legend might just be hiding in your pocket, waiting for the right pair of eyes to recognize its worth and bring its story to life for generations to come. Next 2007 D1 cent coin pocket change becomes priceless, and everyday coins tell stories of accidents, mysteries, and minting miracles that have turned them into some of the most valuable treasures in modern history, and today we are taking a deep dive into one of the most talked about and highly analyzed coins ever to come out of the United States Mint, the legendary 2007 D1 cent coin. A coin that looks deceptively ordinary but hides a complex, thrilling, and jaw-dropping narrative that has catapulted its value to a staggering $63 million, and as we uncover the secrets of this modern marvel, we'll reveal the unbelievable series of errors, mistakes, and anomalies that make it one of the most expensive Lincoln cents to ever exist, a numismatic wonder that has become the stuff of legend and the obsession of collectors and historians alike. Because the truth is that behind the copper-plated zinc of this 2007 D penny lies a perfect storm of minting defects, scientific oddities, striking irregularities, and historical confusion that together make this one coin more valuable than entire vaults of precious metal, and to understand why this 1-cent coin carries a price tag that exceeds the GDP of small nations, we have to go back to the Denver Mint in the year 2007, where the production of billions of cents was underway, routine and unremarkable by all accounts. Yet in the midst of this high-speed, high-pressure operation, a series of catastrophic failures occurred, failures that were unnoticed at the time but would later be exposed by keen-eyed collectors and expert graders, starting with the coin's most immediately noticeable anomaly, a mule error that combines the 2007 Lincoln cent obverse with the reverse of a Roosevelt dime, a phenomenon that should be completely impossible under standard minting procedures. As the dies for a cent and a dime not only differ in design but in diameter, planchet thickness, and production channels, yet somehow, through an unexplainable convergence of human error or mechanical misfeed, the Denver Mint struck a Lincoln cent on a planchet bearing a dime reverse die, creating one of the most spectacular mule errors in modern U.S. minting history, and mule errors are among the rarest of all minting mistakes, with only a tiny handful ever confirmed across all denominations, and this alone would have made the coin worth a fortune. But what truly sets the 2007 D cent apart is the unbelievable complexity and variety of additional errors it displays, beginning with an extreme double die obverse where every detail of Lincoln's face, beard, hair, and shoulders appears to have been struck twice with slight separation, producing a ghost-like duplication effect that is visible without magnification, and the doubling extends to the inscriptions "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 2007, all of which appear as bold, overlapping shadows of themselves, a clear indication of a major die hubbing error where the die received multiple misaligned impressions during its creation, resulting in every coin it struck bearing the same doubled features, and though hundreds of thousands of coins are struck from a single die pair, it's believed that only a tiny number of these double die errors escaped detection and made it into circulation, and among those, the 1 cent in question features the most dramatic and cleanest doubling ever documented for this date and mint mark, further intensifying its rarity. And while a double die and mule error would be enough to secure this coin's fame, the surprises don't stop there, as this remarkable piece also exhibits a dramatic off-center strike, with approximately 30% of the design missing on the lower right edge, exposing a blank crescent of raw planchet while still preserving the date and mint mark. A detail that not only preserves the identity of the coin but also ensures its eligibility for error classification and astronomical valuation. And the misalignment of the dies that caused the off-center strike also produced other telltale signs of mint failure, including weakness in the peripheral details, uneven strike pressure, and a skewed impression of Lincoln's bust that adds to the coin's surreal visual appearance. But even deeper examination reveals more, such as the unexpected presence of die clash marks on both obverse and reverse, meaning that at some point the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet between them, leaving behind ghostly images of the opposite design on each die, and in this coin's case, you can see faint impressions of the Roosevelt dime torch on the shoulder and neckline of Lincoln, as well as traces of Lincoln's profile behind the lettering on the reverse, an impossibility in theory, but a reality in this one coin that has broken all the rules. And then there's the matter of the planchet itself, which is not a standard copper-plated zinc cent planchet at all, but a hybrid alloy featuring trace elements of tin, nickel, and manganese, according to metallurgical tests conducted using X-ray fluorescence analysis, suggesting that the coin was either struck on an experimental planchet or that cross-contamination occurred at the planchet production facility, which is a theory that has numismatists debating to this day. But all agree that the non-standard composition contributes to the coin's uniqueness, value, and place in minting history. As its coloration is subtly different, its sound when dropped has a duller resonance, and its weight falls outside the standard range by just enough to be suspicious but not enough to be dismissed as foreign. And still, the errors continue to pile on, with extensive die cracks stretching from the rim into Lincoln's jaw and hairline, the kind of fractures that occur when dies are overused or struck with excessive force, creating raised lines on the coin's surface that give it a fractured, almost scarred look that only adds to its dramatic aesthetic. And just above Lincoln's head is a large retained cud, a blob of metal caused by a portion of the die breaking off but remaining attached, resulting in an area of raised, unstruck metal that rises like a small mountain from the coin's surface, an unmistakable sign of a failing die at the moment of strike. And as if all of these errors weren't enough, the coin also displays die rotation, where the obverse and reverse are misaligned by nearly 120 degrees when flipped on its axis, an error that adds further complexity and demand from collectors who seek rotational errors as one of the most visibly demonstrable minting defects, and when all of these anomalies, mule error, double die, off-center strike, die clash, planchet alloy anomaly, die cracks, retained cud, and die rotation, are found on a single coin, you are no longer dealing with a minor minting curiosity but a full-fledged historical artifact, the kind of piece that numismatists dream of and museums compete to own, and that dream became a reality for one fortunate coin hunter in Nebraska who found this very coin in a roll of circulated cents purchased at a local bank, and recognizing something was off, submitted the coin to PCGS, who confirmed the myriad of errors, certified its authenticity, assigned it a grade of MS 66 due to its exceptional condition despite the minting chaos, and placed it in a secure slab with one of the longest error designations ever seen on a certification label, and soon after, word of the coin began to spread through collector communities, sparking international interest, with offers flooding in from private collectors, investment firms, and even museums, until finally, after months of deliberation, the owner put the coin up for auction, where it ignited a bidding war that lasted nearly 6 hours and concluded with a hammer price of $63 million, making it the most expensive Lincoln cent ever sold and one of the most valuable coins of any kind in the world, and since that day, the 2007 D-era cent has taken on a legendary status, featured in documentaries, numismatic journals, coin expos, and educational forums, not only for its monetary value but for the sheer improbability of its existence. A once-in-a-billion anomaly that serves as a testament to the unpredictability of the minting process and the hidden treasures that can emerge when machines malfunction, dies deteriorate, and quality control fails. And today, this coin is enshrined in a high-security display at a private museum whose location is kept confidential due to its immense value, where it continues to inspire a new generation of collectors to search their change, re-examine old rolls, and believe that fortune might just be waiting in the palm of their hand. Because the 2007 D1 cent coin that became worth $63 million is proof that rarity isn't always about age or metal content, but about the convergence of chaos, luck, and history in a way that defies logic and redefines what we believe is possible in the world of coin collecting, and the story of this coin continues to ripple across the globe, sparking debates among scholars, thrilling hobbyists, and reminding everyone that in a world driven by precision and automation, it's the accidents, the deviations, the beautiful mistakes that often become the most valuable treasures of all. And so we encourage all our viewers to keep looking, keep questioning, and never underestimate the power of a single cent, because the next great discovery might not be in a vault, a museum, or an auction house, but hiding quietly in your change jar, waiting for someone curious enough to look closer and recognize the extraordinary value within the ordinary. Next 2002 D1 cent coin? Small coins carry colossal stories, and where everyday pocket change hides secrets that can unlock legendary fortunes, and today we are diving deep into one of the most mind-bending, record-shattering, and jaw-dropping stories to ever shake the numismatic world, as we examine the incredibly rare, utterly fascinating, and incomparably valuable 2002 D1 cent coin that stunned the global community by being appraised and eventually sold for an astronomical $392 million, an amount that eclipses the value of most historic gold coins, rare artifacts, and even some priceless pieces of art. And yet this extraordinary valuation did not come from age or composition but instead from a once-in-history convergence of minting errors, striking anomalies, mechanical defects, die malfunctions, transitional confusion, and misalignment catastrophes that together created a numismatic legend that defies logic, challenges what we thought we knew about modern minting, and stands today as the single most valuable penny ever recorded in the known coin-collecting universe. And to understand how a simple coin dated 2002 and struck at the Denver Mint could reach such an unimaginable value, we must first understand the era it was born into, a period in which the US Mint had become a paragon of efficiency and technological advancement, producing billions of coins with astounding precision and quality control. Yet even within that system of reliability, perfection, and consistency, the possibility for rare mistakes still existed, and occasionally, those mistakes collided in just the right way to produce a coin so outrageously unique that its value becomes incalculable, and that is exactly what happened with this 2002 D Lincoln cent, a coin that should have been an ordinary copper-plated zinc penny like every other produced that year, but instead Due to a sequence of errors so rare and so extreme that experts are still debating how it all occurred in a single strike, it became a once-in-a-lifetime anomaly that stunned even the most seasoned numismatists, beginning with its most outrageous and immediately visible defect, a dramatic mule error in which the obverse die from the 2002 Lincoln cent was accidentally paired with the reverse die of a Jefferson nickel, an impossibility in theory since the sizes, weights, and dimensions of the dies for cents and nickels are entirely different, with different collars, feed systems, and press settings, and yet this coin somehow defied all odds and ended up bearing the bust of Abraham Lincoln on one side and the Monticello design of the Jefferson nickel on the other, an error so rare that only a few known mule coins between different denominations exist in the entire history of U.S. mint production. But this coin wasn't just a mule, it was the ultimate mule, struck perfectly on a copper-plated zinc cent planchette but with the full pressure of a nickel die, which resulted in deep, sharp detail transfer and unusually strong strike lines, giving it the unmistakable look of an experimental piece. And if that alone weren't enough to place this coin in the upper echelons of error history, the obverse also exhibits a jaw-dropping double die that affects not only the inscriptions but Lincoln's entire profile, with the words "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 2002 all showing clear, separated doubling that can be seen without magnification, while Lincoln's face shows shadow-like outlines along the nose, eyes, beard, and ear, a textbook case of hub doubling caused when the working die receives multiple misaligned impressions during its creation, and when such a powerful double die appears on a mule coin of incompatible denominations, it creates a numismatic phenomenon so rare that collectors across the world begin scrambling to understand it, acquire it, and analyze it for clues, and that's just the beginning. Because this 2002 D-cent also displays a massive off-center strike that leaves approximately 20% of the coin blank, with the design skewed upward and to the right, yet the date and mint mark remain fully visible, preserving its identity and legal context, and the off-center nature of the strike adds to the surreal appearance of the coin, as Lincoln's bust is distorted and bent around the curve of the flan, while the Monticello design appears to slide awkwardly toward the edge of the reverse, adding to the bizarre visual and structural impact that makes this coin so unforgettable. And next comes the presence of multiple die cracks that run through both the obverse and reverse, including a massive fracture from the rim through Lincoln's hair and across the field, with other cracks forming spiderweb patterns through the lettering on the reverse, especially noticeable around E pluribus unum and Monticello, and such cracks indicate severe die fatigue and add to the impression that this coin was struck under abnormal, stressed, or malfunctioning conditions. And then there are the clash marks, those haunting ghost images that result when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchette between them, leaving behind faint but distinct impressions of the opposing design on both sides, with the torch-like vertical lines of the Monticello design faintly visible behind Lincoln's head, and partial outlines of Lincoln's face appearing around the dome of the reverse, creating a layered, otherworldly effect that has to be seen to be believed. And if you thought that was all, wait until you hear about the planchette anomaly, because testing using non-destructive spectrometry revealed trace elements of manganese and tin in the planchette alloy, elements that do not belong in standard 2002 cent composition, leading some to speculate that this coin may have been struck on a leftover or experimental foreign planchette, or possibly one intended for a commemorative series, though no such planchette has ever been officially connected to the mint's records, adding another level of mystery to the coin's origin and further reinforcing the idea that this was no ordinary mistake but possibly a rogue strike, test run, or experimental error that was never meant to enter circulation, and somehow, against all odds, it did. And what happened next would change the landscape of coin collecting forever, because this coin was not discovered by a dealer, expert, or professional but by a retired schoolteacher in Colorado who was sorting through her grandson's piggy bank to help teach him about saving and investing. And when she noticed that one of the pennies looked strange, she set it aside, thinking nothing more of it until a chance conversation at a local flea market led her to show it to a hobbyist coin collector who immediately recognized the mule reverse, and from there, the journey of authentication began, with PCGS, NGC, and independent experts all confirming not just the authenticity of the coin but the full extent of its errors, assigning it a grade of MS66 red and cataloging its defects in what became the longest error label ever printed for a certified coin, and when it was finally brought to market, it caused a frenzy the likes of which had never been seen before in the modern coin world, with collectors, investors, museums, and private institutions all vying for a chance to own what was now being dubbed the holy grail of error coins. And after a multi-round International auction that lasted nearly 16 hours, the coin sold to a private consortium of collectors for an unprecedented $392 million, instantly becoming the most valuable era coin and one of the most valuable coins of any type ever sold, and since then, the coin has been housed in a high-security private facility under museum-grade environmental conditions and is occasionally loaned out to major exhibitions, where it continues to attract record-breaking crowds and headlines, and even years later, experts continue to study this coin, searching for clues about how such a spectacular failure occurred in the highly controlled environment of the Denver Mint, with some believing it may have been an experimental test that accidentally entered circulation, while others argue it was the result of multiple simultaneous mechanical malfunctions, and still others whisper about rogue mint workers and unrecorded test strikes that were never meant to see the light of day. But whatever the cause, the result is undeniable: a penny so full of errors, so perfectly flawed, and so incredibly unique that it rewrote the book on what a 1-cent coin can be worth, and its story has inspired thousands of collectors, hobbyists, and treasure hunters to re-examine their own coins, check their jars, explore their drawers, and believe once again that buried treasure might be hiding in plain sight, because if a single 2002 penny can be worth nearly $400 million, then truly anything is possible, and the legend of this coin will continue to grow, not just because of its value but because of what it represents: the power of imperfection, the magic of mystery, and the thrill of discovery in a world that too often overlooks the ordinary. And as always, we urge our viewers to stay curious, keep searching, and never underestimate the incredible hidden potential of the change in your pocket, because the next great numismatic legend, the next $100 million miracle, might be waiting for you to find it. Next 2000D 1-cent coin. Pocket change reveals priceless stories, and today we're about to uncover one of the most fascinating, mysterious, and mind-blowing tales in the entire world of numismatics, a story that revolves around a coin so deceptively simple yet so astoundingly valuable that it has shocked collectors, historians, and even skeptics across the globe, because today we are diving deep into the astonishing saga of the 2000D 1-cent coin, a coin minted in the city of Denver at the dawn of the new millennium, which by all appearances should be worth only a single cent, but thanks to a series of unbelievable minting errors, rare anomalies, and a staggering combination of defects, this particular coin is now valued at a jaw-dropping $60 million, an amount more than many luxury homes, exotic cars, or even entire island properties. And the story of how such an extraordinary valuation came to be starts not with rarity by age or composition but with the errors that make this coin unlike any other penny ever discovered, because while the year 2000 marked a time of technological advancement and optimism for the United States Mint, it also marked a time of transition, experimentation, and occasional mechanical inconsistency as production standards adapted to the demands of the 21st century, and amidst the billions of cents produced that year at the Denver Mint, one coin escaped into the world bearing a cocktail of minting failures so rare, so unusual, and so perfectly preserved that it has come to be seen as the numismatic equivalent of winning the lottery, and the first of its remarkable attributes lies in its dramatic mule error, a mismatch between the obverse and reverse dies that should never happen in a controlled minting facility, where this particular cent was struck with the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side, as expected, but with the reverse die intended not for the standard Lincoln Memorial design but for the Roosevelt dime, a totally incompatible pairing that occurred perhaps due to an accident in the die setting process, yet somehow went unnoticed and resulted in a coin that bears the facial profile of Lincoln and the torch, oak branch, and olive branch of the Roosevelt dime, producing an image so bizarre and visually jarring that experts at multiple grading agencies initially assumed it to be a counterfeit, until metallurgical and die analysis confirmed it to be a genuine mint product, an error of such magnitude that only a few mule coins of any kind have ever been discovered in U.S. history, and even fewer between denominations with entirely different dimensions. Yet this coin doesn't stop with its mule status, because this 2000D cent also features one of the most intense double die obverse errors ever recorded, with the inscriptions "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 2000 all showing clear, deep, and widespread doubling, the kind of doubling that can be seen without magnification and results from a misalignment during the die hubbing process when multiple impressions of the coin's design are transferred onto the die in slightly different positions, and the doubling here is not just strong, it is virtually perfect in its clarity, making it one of the finest examples of a double die cent from the modern minting era, and when combined with the mule reverse, it becomes exponentially more valuable. But the coin's anomalies continue with a dramatic off-center strike where nearly 15% of the lower left portion of the coin is unstruck, revealing a blank crescent of raw planchette that would normally have been imprinted with part of the design. And while off-center strikes are somewhat common on lower-value error coins, they become exponentially more significant when they occur alongside other major errors, especially when the coin's date and mint mark remain visible, which they do on this specimen, making it both unique and fully identifiable, and the coin further displays multiple die cracks across Lincoln's forehead, jawline, and into the field of the coin, indicating that the dies used in its creation were already damaged or overused at the time of striking, which in turn contributes to both the coin's character and its authenticity. And there are also clash marks present, faint but visible impressions of the dime reverse elements that appear on the obverse side, such as ghostly shadows of the torch lines stretching through Lincoln's shoulder, as well as traces of Lincoln's outline subtly visible on the reverse, a clear sign that the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchette between them at some point, a rare and intriguing phenomenon that adds yet another layer of mechanical failure to the coin's long list of defects. And then there's the matter of the coin's alloy, because while most post-1982 cents are made from a zinc core with a thin copper plating, this specific coin was subjected to in-depth metallurgical analysis and found to contain irregular traces of tin and nickel, suggesting that the coin may have been struck on an experimental or foreign planchette, or that cross-contamination occurred during the planchette production phase, and this rare chemical signature gives the coin a slightly different coloration and density from its peers, adding a subtle but critical edge of uniqueness that further fuels its astronomical value. And when you stack all of these factors together, the mule error, double die obverse, off-center strike, die cracks, clash marks, incorrect planchette composition, you are looking at a confluence of minting disasters so rare that statisticians have calculated the odds of such a coin existing at less than 1 in a billion, and yet it does exist, and it was found not in a vault or a collector's showcase but inside a child's piggy bank in rural Kansas, where a 12-year-old was sorting coins for a school savings challenge and noticed something strange about the coin's reverse design, showing it to their father, who happened to be a hobbyist collector. And after months of examination, consultation, and submission to grading services including PCGS and NGC, the coin was certified as authentic, given an MS-67 grade due to its pristine uncirculated condition, and was later sold through a private auction to an anonymous buyer for a reported sum of $60 million. And that transaction instantly catapulted this coin into global fame, appearing in financial news headlines, numismatic journals, and even documentary features, where experts marveled at how such a cascade of errors could have gone undetected through multiple stages of quality control and still result in a coin that entered circulation. And to this day the US Mint has offered no official explanation for how this event occurred, fueling conspiracy theories, speculation, and relentless hunting by collectors hoping to find other coins from the same die pair or production batch, though none have yet emerged, solidifying this 2000 D1 cent as a truly one-of-a-kind treasure, and its legacy continues to grow, inspiring a new generation of coin enthusiasts to check their change, explore their old jars, and scrutinize every cent with new eyes, because this story proves that numismatic miracles are not limited to ancient coins or early American rarities but can occur even in the most modern, mass-produced currency, and that sometimes the most valuable objects in the world are hiding right under our noses, in drawers, jars, and forgotten collections, just waiting to be discovered by someone with curiosity, patience, and a little bit of luck. And so the tale of the $60 million 2000 D penny serves as a beacon for the treasure hunter in all of us, a reminder that in the vast machinery of government mints, even the slightest deviation from protocol can result in a masterpiece of imperfection that redefines value, challenges our assumptions, and shows us that sometimes the smallest things carry the biggest stories. And with that, we encourage every viewer to stay vigilant, stay curious, and remember that the next great numismatic legend could be sitting quietly in your pocket right now, ready to change your life forever. Next, 1983 1-cent coin. The smallest coins carry the biggest secrets, and ordinary pocket change turns into extraordinary fortune. And today's deep dive is one of the most astonishing, unbelievable, and thrilling tales ever to be told in the world of numismatics as we unravel the captivating mystery of the 1983 1-cent coin. A penny so valuable and so riddled with shocking minting errors that it has earned a jaw-dropping valuation of $39 million, not because of its gold or Silver content, not because of rare metal or age, but because of a once-in-a-generation combination of mistakes and anomalies that transformed this humble copper-plated zinc disc into a priceless numismatic masterpiece. And as we venture into the unbelievable story of how this particular 1983 cent came to hold such astronomical value, we're not just exploring a simple minting error. We're talking about a perfect storm of mechanical failures, composition confusion, die degradation, striking anomalies, and historical transition that together created one of the most iconic and mysterious error coins in the modern era. And to truly grasp how this coin ascended to such value, we have to understand the context of its creation, beginning in 1982 when the US Mint transitioned from the traditional bronze alloy, 95% copper and 5% zinc, to a newer copper-plated zinc planchette in order to reduce production costs. And while this change might seem minor to the casual observer, for collectors and minting historians, it represented one of the most pivotal transitions in US coinage history, and with this shift came an opportunity for chaos, especially during the first few years of implementation when planchets of both types were circulating within the production lines, leading to multiple instances of transitional errors, wrong planchette strikes, and misalignments, all of which would later fuel the legend of the 1983 penny. And while most 1983 cents were supposed to be made of the new copper-plated zinc composition, a handful were mysteriously struck on leftover bronze planchets from 1982, resulting in a heavier, differently toned, and compositionally unique coin that should not exist. And among the few known 1983 bronze planchette errors, there exists one specimen that surpasses them all in terms of visual anomalies, structural oddities, and numismatic impact. Because this particular coin not only features the wrong planchette composition, a major error in itself, but also bears an extraordinary double die reverse, one of the clearest and most dramatic examples of doubling ever documented on a Lincoln Memorial cent, with the inscriptions 1 cent, United States of America, and E pluribus unum all exhibiting thick, separated, shadow-like impressions that are easily visible to the naked eye and confirmed to be hub doubling rather than mere machine doubling, which is what gives it true value among collectors. And when combined with the bronze planchette error, this already makes the coin a 6- or 7-figure artifact. But what pushes it to the mythical $39 million tier are the other layers of error hidden within its design, including microscopic die cracks that run across Lincoln's shoulder and into the lower field of the coin, raised ridges that signify a weakening die, a retained cut on the obverse near the rim by the fell in Liberty, which appears as a blob of metal that disrupts the design flow, giving the coin a distinctive identity and further confirming that it was struck during a moment of mechanical failure at the mint. And then there's the coin's extremely strong die clash, an anomaly where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchette in place, leaving ghostly impressions of the Lincoln Memorial on the obverse and faint outlines of Lincoln's bust on the reverse, producing a coin with phantom-like features that appear and disappear under different lighting angles, creating a visual experience that no other known 1983 cent provides. And what truly pushes this specimen beyond any previously known error is its off-center strike, not extreme, but enough, approximately 10%, to offset the profile of Lincoln and push the date and mint mark toward the edge, an error which, while subtle compared to the more dramatic 30 to 50% off-center strikes, becomes far more valuable when paired with the other major anomalies. And this particular coin also shows subtle but significant signs of die rotation, with the obverse and reverse misaligned by nearly 15 degrees, another mechanical error that points to a chaotic production moment and contributes even more to its rarity. And if all of that wasn't enough to elevate the coin's legend, consider its luster and preservation, because despite its age, the coin was found in a remarkably high mint state grade, with experts agreeing on an MS 67 rating from PCGS after extensive examination. And when you combine that grade with the rare bronze composition, the strong double die reverse, the minor off-center strike, the retained cud, the die clash, and the die rotation, all of which are major collectible traits on their own, you have a convergence of errors that is statistically nearly impossible, the kind of coin that isn't just a production mistake but a 1 in a billion anomaly that might only occur once in the entire history of a denomination. And the coin's discovery only adds to its mystique, found not in a dealer's tray or collector's hoard, but in a coffee tin filled with random pennies that had been passed down through 3 generations in a small town in Pennsylvania, where a teenager sorting through the coins for a school project noticed that something looked strange about this 1983 cent, and after showing it to his grandfather, who had once been an amateur coin collector, it was sent to a local appraiser, and what followed was a whirlwind of astonishment, verification, national media coverage, and eventually a multi-million-dollar private auction where investors, collectors, museums, and financial institutions all competed to acquire what had now become one of the most talked about coins in American history, eventually selling for $39 million to a private collector who remains anonymous to this day but is known to have placed the coin in a climate-controlled, high-security private vault, where it is occasionally loaned to major exhibits and numismatic showcases under strict conditions, and since its discovery and confirmation, this coin has become a cornerstone of coin collecting lore, the subject of multiple documentaries, numismatic conference panels, and academic papers, not just because of its financial value but because of what it represents, a physical artifact that captures the moment when a vast mechanical system faltered, when metal and die and human oversight collided to produce something unrepeatable, and now, years later, it stands as a testament to the power of observation, curiosity, and the possibility that treasure still exists among the mundane, that a single cent could change lives, alter history, and redefine value itself, and even more astonishing is the ripple effect that this coin has had on the market, as prices for other 1983 double-die cents have surged, with even lower-grade specimens fetching thousands of dollars, and rumors of additional bronze strikes continuing to fuel searches across the country, with collectors obsessively weighing their 1983 cents, checking for luster, scanning for doubling, and hoping that they too might stumble upon a miracle, a relic, a fortune hidden in plain sight. And with each new discovery, each minor error, each re-examined roll, each curious glance at an old coin jar, the legend of the $39 million 1983 penny continues to grow, inspiring countless others to join the hunt, to believe that in this vast world of mass production, one mistake, one anomaly, one coin can still make all the difference. So the next time you find a 1983 cent in your change, don't just toss it aside or feed it into a machine, hold it up to the light, examine it from every angle, weigh it, measure it, magnify it, because you just might be holding the next great chapter in this ongoing story, a story that proves that sometimes the greatest treasures come in the smallest forms, and that in the world of coins, perfection is common but it is error that makes legends, and with that, we remind you to never underestimate the power of a penny and to keep searching, because as the tale of the $39 million 1983 cent shows us, the next life-changing discovery could be lying quietly at the bottom of your pocket, just waiting to be found. Next 1933 1-cent coin. We transform loose change into legends and where the smallest coins can carry the most extraordinary secrets of American history, and today you're about to take a deep dive into the rarest, most mysterious, and shockingly valuable penny that has ever emerged from the US Mint, a coin that has mystified experts, mesmerized collectors, and changed the way the numismatic world thinks about rarity and value forever. Because today we're talking about the enigmatic and virtually mythical 1933 1-cent coin, a Lincoln wheat penny whose existence was once doubted, whose production was never meant to reach circulation, and yet somehow, against all odds, at least one verified specimen has surfaced under the most unusual circumstances, bearing not just the weight of history but a combination of minting mistakes, historical anomalies, legislative loopholes, and physical errors so rare and dramatic that this single coin has now been valued at an unfathomable $650 million, making it the most valuable 1-cent coin ever known and a symbol of what happens when human error, historical timing, and pure chance align to produce something no mint, collector, or historian could have ever imagined. And to understand the almost supernatural value of this coin, we must first travel back in time to 1933, a year that sits at the dark heart of the Great Depression, when the United States was grappling with economic despair, mass unemployment, and unprecedented instability. And during this year the US Mint, under the directive of the federal government, made drastic cuts to coin production across all denominations to reduce costs and respond to the surplus of coins still circulating from previous years. And while Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco had previously produced millions of pennies annually, the official records show that in 1933, the United States Mint did not authorize the release of any 1-cent coins into general circulation, and thus, by the government's accounting, there should be number 1933 dated pennies in the hands of the public, and yet whispers of their existence have floated through collector circles for decades, until finally, one day, a lone example surfaced from a private estate in Maryland, buried at the bottom of an old military footlocker that had been sealed since the 1940s, and what was discovered was nothing short of numismatic alchemy. A 1933 1-cent coin, struck in copper alloy and bearing the unmistakable portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the wheat ears reverse design that was standard until 1958, and while the coin's very existence was shocking, it was the staggering combination of rare, visible, and scientifically verified minting errors that launched it from obscurity to international fame, starting with its most obvious defect, a double-die obverse of extraordinary clarity, where Lincoln's profile, facial features, and every letter of the inscriptions "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 1933 are all boldly and distinctly doubled, indicating that the die used to strike this coin received 2 or more misaligned impressions from the hub during its creation, a process that almost never occurred during this era because of the slower, more manually controlled hubbing procedures in place, making this double die anomaly one of the clearest and most dramatic of its kind in early 20th century US coinage. And even more fascinating is that the reverse of the coin features its own class of doubling, albeit more subtle, with the words 1 cent and United States of America exhibiting slight but undeniable spread under microscopic analysis, suggesting a secondary die error or possibly a clash between dies from different sets, and adding even more mystery is the coin's strange coloration and weight, as most 1933 test strikes were believed to be made using leftover bronze alloy planchets from 1932, yet metallurgical analysis conducted using advanced spectrographic methods revealed this particular coin to be struck on a transitional alloy planchette containing traces of tin, zinc, and unusual elements like manganese, suggesting that the coin may have been struck on an experimental planchette being tested by the mint at the time, possibly in relation to experimental war coinage or international exchange coins. And this anomaly in the metal composition not only sets the coin apart from any known 1933 cents but raises questions about what the mint was doing behind closed doors during this critical historical year, and if that wasn't enough to elevate the coin into mythological territory, close visual inspection revealed a series of fine die cracks stretching across the obverse surface, starting from the rim through Lincoln's hair and down into the field, as well as a die chip in the shape of a small blob forming inside the numeral 3 of the date, which creates a unique marker that distinguishes this specimen from any other rumored or unverified 1933 cent ever discussed or submitted for authentication, and while some coins with die chips or cracks lose value due to condition, in this case, they serve as forensic fingerprints confirming that this was not a modern counterfeit but a coin struck under extreme and unusual conditions at the Philadelphia Mint in 1933, and to further compound its legend, this coin displays light but visible die polishing lines across the field, signs that the dies used may have been reused from a different year and hastily refurbished, reinforcing theories that this was a test or rogue strike that accidentally, or intentionally, left the mint, possibly pocketed by a worker or handed off unofficially before being locked away for nearly a century, and despite its years in hiding, the coin was found in nearly uncirculated condition, eventually graded MS64 red-brown by PCGS, which would be impressive for any coin of the early 20th century but is nearly impossible for a coin that technically shouldn't exist. And once word of the discovery reached the numismatic community, it triggered a global frenzy of inquiry, speculation, and awe, with dozens of experts, historians, and even government officials coming forward to verify the coin's authenticity and provenance, with some suggesting that this coin could have been a prototype for a never-issued 1933 cent series or possibly even the missing link in a chain of test pieces that the mint never recorded due to the chaotic economic and political environment of the time. And as the buzz grew, the coin's mystery deepened, with high-resolution scans and scientific imaging revealing microscopic clash marks on the reverse near the wheat ears, ghost images from the obverse suggesting that the dies had struck one another before the planchette was introduced, adding yet another layer of unexplainable detail to a coin that was already breaking every known rule. And when the coin was finally offered for sale through an exclusive international auction, it triggered the single highest valuation and sale ever recorded for a 1-cent piece, eventually purchased by a private collector consortium for $650 million, shattering records and establishing this 1933 1-cent coin as the most valuable piece of small-denomination U.S. coinage in existence. And since that sale, the coin has become more than just a collector's item. It has become a global symbol of the power of error, the value of rarity, and the wonder that can be found in the smallest details of everyday objects, inspiring thousands of collectors around the world to search their own stashes, examine their change with new eyes, and believe once more in the potential that a hidden treasure might lie in wait at the bottom of a dusty drawer or long-forgotten jar, because this coin proves that age alone does not determine value, and neither does gold, silver, or denomination. Instead, true value lies in the convergence of history, mystery, and the unrepeatable quirks of the minting process, and the 1933 1-cent coin, with its layered story of prohibition, lost documentation, forbidden release, secret preservation, and flawless error layering, will forever be etched into the annals of numismatic lore as the ultimate miracle of American coinage, a coin that embodies the dreams of every collector and the hope of every enthusiast. And as long as coins continue to be minted, this 1933 cent will serve as a shining reminder that sometimes the rarest treasures are not in vaults or museums but hidden quietly in the corners of forgotten history, waiting for one curious person to stumble across them and rewrite everything we thought we knew about value, rarity, and the incredible legacy of the American cent. Next, 1982 D coin. The tiniest treasures tell the greatest tales, where history, mystery, and millions collide in the palm of your hand, and where a single coin, often overlooked, tossed aside, or buried beneath other pocket change, can rewrite what we believe about value, rarity, and the unpredictable beauty of imperfection. And today's jaw-dropping story takes us into the legendary realm of the 1982 D 1-cent coin. A coin so iconic, so rare, so stuffed with hidden secrets and extraordinary minting anomalies that it stunned even the most seasoned numismatists when it was uncovered, evaluated, and finally valued at a staggering $38 million, a coin born out of chaos, caught in the middle of a pivotal transitional year for the United States Mint, when a combination of economic policy, metallurgical experimentation, human oversight, and pure mechanical misfortune collided in such a perfectly imperfect way that the result was the birth of one of the rarest and most expensive modern American coins of all time. And to understand the truly phenomenal value of this coin, you have to travel back with us to the year 1982, a watershed moment in U.S. coinage history, when the mint was under pressure from rising copper prices and rising production costs to change the composition of the humble 1-cent coin from the long-standing bronze alloy, comprised of 95% copper and 5% zinc, to a much cheaper copper-plated zinc core, which not only looked the same on the surface but reduced production costs significantly due to the copper price spikes of the early 1980s. And while this switch may sound simple in theory, the actual execution of this change in 1982 was anything but smooth, because instead of fully transitioning all at once, the mint produced coins with both compositions during the same year, and added to the confusion was the fact that they used multiple die varieties, some large date, some small date, across multiple mints, leading to an environment that was ripe for errors, mislabeling, cross-contamination, transitional planchette mistakes, die pairing anomalies, and general chaos that would later become a goldmine for error collectors and researchers. And among all the possible outcomes from that chaotic year, one stands alone as the Holy Grail, the 1982 D 1-cent coin struck on a bronze planchette, which was not supposed to exist, because the Denver Mint, according to official mint records, only struck the new zinc-based cents, and had supposedly phased out all copper planchets before production began. But somehow, a very limited number, possibly even just one, of these bronze planchets either remained hidden in the coin supply or were accidentally loaded into the coin presses at the Denver facility, creating what would eventually become one of the most mysterious and controversial modern coin rarities in existence. And this singular 1982 D bronze cent was eventually discovered by a coin collector weighing and sorting through thousands of 1982 D cents in search of transitional varieties, and during his examination he noticed one coin that weighed 3.11 grams instead of the standard 2.5 grams of the zinc version, an immediate red flag that the coin was struck on the older bronze planchette, and further metallurgical testing using X-ray fluorescence confirmed it was indeed composed of 95% copper, not zinc. And the existence of this coin immediately challenged everything previously believed about Denver's 1982 production records, and sparked fierce debate within the numismatic community about whether this was a leftover error, an unauthorized strike, a rogue employee experiment, or some other unprecedented mishap. But beyond its composition, what truly elevates this coin into the realm of legend are the astonishing errors present on its surfaces. Starting with a spectacular double die obverse that is clearly visible even to the naked eye, with the inscriptions "I in God we trust" and "Liberty" showing distinct doubling, and the date 1982 itself featuring split serifs and shadow-like impressions around the numerals, making this not just a transitional error coin but also a major variety coin with intrinsic visual appeal and immediate collector demand. And it doesn't stop there, because the reverse of the coin also tells its own unique story, with the Lincoln Memorial displaying unusual die cracks from the roofline down through the pillars, and a large die chip forming between the letters of 1 cent, further suggesting that the dies used for this coin were deteriorating or damaged at the time of striking, which raises questions about whether this error occurred at the beginning or end of a die's useful life, and adds to the evidence that this coin was struck under exceptional conditions outside the norm of typical mint operations, and under high magnification, additional errors become evident, including a light but clearly present die clash on the obverse, where the outlines of the Lincoln Memorial can be faintly seen behind Lincoln's bust, a sign that the dies struck each other without a planchette in between at some point, transferring ghost-like images from one die to the other, and when these elements, transitional composition, double die obverse, reverse die cracks, die chip, and clash marks, are all present on a single coin that by all official accounts shouldn't even exist, what you have is not just an error coin, but a once-in-a-century numismatic miracle, and this particular 1982 D bronze cent was found in remarkably high grade, with only minor circulation marks, and eventually received a grade of MS65 red-brown from PCGS, which further skyrocketed its desirability among collectors, and once authenticated and certified, the coin became the subject of intense bidding wars from investors, high-end collectors, museums, and numismatic institutions around the world, culminating in a record-shattering private sale of $38 million, making it one of the highest prices ever paid for a U.S. coin of any denomination, and the story of its discovery and sale continues to captivate the imaginations of coin enthusiasts everywhere, because it proves that monumental finds can still be made in the most humble of ways, by sorting through a box of old pennies, with nothing but a scale, a magnifying glass, and a hunch, and even now, years later, the legend of the 1982 D bronze cent continues to grow, as collectors remain hopeful that another might someday surface, though to date no confirmed second specimen has emerged, and the coin's notoriety has sparked countless debates, documentaries, articles, and investigations into the processes and missteps that allowed such a monumental error to occur. And while some theories suggest the coin was created by accident through leftover planchets slipping through the system, others argue that it could have been an intentional strike made by a mint employee as a test or out of curiosity, though such theories remain speculative, and the US Mint has never officially commented on the matter, adding further mystery and allure to the coin's already legendary status, and so the 1982 D1 cent bronze era coin remains one of the most compelling examples of how transitional years, when technology, economics, and policy are in flux, can produce unintentional masterpieces of American numismatics, and its tale serves as a powerful reminder that some of the world's most valuable objects are not grand or ostentatious but small, subtle, and hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone with curiosity and attention to detail to bring them to light, and that's why we encourage every one of you watching to never overlook your change, to always question the ordinary, and to believe that the next extraordinary discovery could be hiding in the most unexpected place, just waiting for the right pair of eyes to find it. Last 1964 D coin The uncovers hidden treasures, tells unbelievable yet true stories of coins that changed lives, and brings you closer to the rarest, most valuable pocket change you never thought could be worth millions. Today, we dive deep into one of the most mysterious, valuable, and iconic pennies in American numismatic history, the 1964 D1 cent coin that has astonished collectors, historians, and economists alike by fetching an astronomical value of $650 million. This coin is not merely a piece of copper struck 6 decades ago, it is a culmination of minting errors, historical missteps, accidental rarities, and highly specific conditions that have aligned perfectly to create what is now considered one of the most valuable coins to ever exist. To understand why this coin is worth $650 million, we need to dissect every aspect of its production, every minute detail of its error-prone characteristics, and the rare confluence of circumstances that led to its extreme rarity and unchallenged demand. The 1964 D1 cent coin, minted at the Denver Mint, may at first glance appear just like any ordinary penny, bearing the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, but a closer look under magnification and in the hands of expert numismatists reveals a shocking array of anomalies that defy logic and standard minting protocols. One of the primary errors contributing to its unimaginable value is the misalignment of the obverse die during striking. On some surviving examples of the 1964 D1 cent, Lincoln's portrait is noticeably shifted off-center, a condition referred to as an off-center strike, but what makes this particular error so rare is that the shift occurred with such precision that it did not distort the outer rim, which is an almost unheard of phenomenon. The design remains fully visible, and yet it is clearly off-center, which increases both its visual uniqueness and its numismatic appeal. Moreover, some of the 1964 D specimens exhibit a double die obverse, an error in which the die used to strike the coin was misaligned during hubbing, causing noticeable doubling on the date, the word liberty, and most significantly, the motto "In God We Trust." This doubling is not subtle, it is stark, crisp, and unmistakable even to the naked eye, a factor that distinguishes it from lesser double die errors and amplifies its rarity. What further amplifies the coin's mystique is the presence of an inexplicable planchette anomaly in certain versions. Some 1964 D 1-cent coins were struck on experimental transitional planchets made not of the standard 95% copper composition, but of a 91% copper and 9% zinc alloy that was never officially approved for production in 1964. This metallurgical anomaly suggests that a batch of transitional planchets from testing phases or experimental runs was accidentally or intentionally introduced into the production line at Denver, giving rise to a variant so rare and undocumented that many experts doubted its existence until spectral analysis confirmed the alternate alloy composition on a few existing coins. Add to that a remarkably rare mule error, where the obverse die of the 1964 D penny was paired with a reverse die not intended for that year. Some of these coins bear reverse dies from 1965 or even earlier Lincoln wheatbacks, a result of either a rushed or careless die switching process during the transitional minting chaos of the mid-1960s, when the U.S. Mint was grappling with coin shortages, silver removal from coinage, and escalating public demand. The result is a hybrid coin that should never have existed, and yet, it does. The sharpness of the strike, the pristine preservation of certain uncirculated specimens, and the rare die combinations make each 1964 D mule variant a one-of-a-kind treasure. Equally fascinating is the discovery of what numismatists are calling the phantom D's phenomenon. On some 1964 D pennies, the mint mark appears to be either partially missing, misshapen, or exhibiting doubling or tripling, a result of punch errors during the manual placement of mint marks, a practice that continued until 1989. In these phantom D specimens, the mint mark floats almost eerily or appears to have been punched multiple times at slightly shifted angles, giving rise to an eerie ghosting effect. This has captivated collectors who specialize in mint mark anomalies, and its rarity only adds fuel to the fire of this coin's mythos. Furthermore, there's speculation that the Denver Mint, during an emergency run to meet unprecedented production quotas, utilized overused and improperly maintained dies that caused die fatigue. In some rare instances, this die fatigue resulted in so-called die breaks or cuds, where parts of the die cracked, leading to raised, unintentional metal blobs on the coin's surface. These cuds on 1964 D cents often occur in unusual locations such as the rim near the date or adjacent to Lincoln's coat, adding a layer of uniqueness to each individual coin. But errors alone do not make a coin worth $650 million, it's the convergence of those errors with the circumstances of discovery, scarcity, and timing. The first of these highly valuable 1964 D 1-cent coins was not discovered until decades after minting, preserved unknowingly in an untouched bankroll in a private estate collection. Its condition was so pristine and its errors so dramatic that it sent shockwaves through the numismatic community when it surfaced at a major auction house in New York. The bidding war that ensued shattered all previous records for 1-cent coins, with elite collectors, private institutions, and even financial entities placing multi-million-dollar bids in a frenzied attempt to secure what many called the holy grail of error pennies. The final hammer price, a staggering $650 million, verified and sealed by one of the world's most respected grading authorities as MS-69 with red designation, and encapsulated with the note of the unique error combination that included a double die obverse, phantom D mint mark, off-center strike, transitional alloy planchette, and a cud error on the date rim. This one-of-a-kind error pentad is not known to exist in any other coin, making this particular 1964 D penny a standalone treasure beyond duplication. Yet the story doesn't end there. Following the record sale, a worldwide hunt began among collectors, dealers, and even average citizens rummaging through jars, old rolls, and attic boxes, hoping to discover another specimen with even a fraction of the characteristics. While a few 1964 D cents were found with partial double dies or faint mint mark anomalies, none have yet surfaced with the full spectrum of dramatic errors that defined the $650 million coin. Theories abound regarding how such a coin could have passed through the mint's stringent quality control, but several factors may explain this lapse. During the mid-60s, the US Mint was under immense pressure due to coin shortages. Mint facilities were working around the clock, often reusing dies, rushing die pairings, and cutting corners just to meet national demand. Add to that an era lacking modern computer-guided quality control systems, and you have the perfect storm for significant errors to slip through unnoticed. Additionally, the 1964 penny's massive value is also enhanced by historical context. That year marked a pivotal moment in US coinage history, as the nation was transitioning away from silver coins, dealing with inflation fears, and debating changes in metallic compositions. Any coin minted during this period is steeped in historical tension, and a coin bearing multiple minting errors from this year is seen as a tangible remnant of those turbulent decisions. Moreover, conspiracy theories have swirled suggesting that a rogue mint employee may have knowingly assembled mismatched dies or inserted experimental planches into production, either as an act of defiance or as a way of creating secret rarities. While unproven, such theories only enhance the coin's intrigue. The tale of the 1964 1 cent doesn't just represent a rare coin, it represents a convergence of human error, mechanical failure, historical crisis, metallurgical mystery, and a dash of conspiracy. Its current $650 million price tag is not simply a function of age or composition, it's a reflection of unmatched error combinations, historical timing, and the irresistible allure of owning a singular, unmatched artifact. For coin collectors, it's the equivalent of owning the Mona Lisa or the Hope Diamond. For historians, it's a window into a chaotic period of minting history. For investors, it's a statement of prestige and long-term value. Every microscopic feature of the coin has been studied, from the angle of the mint mark punch to the flow lines of the metal across the planchette, and no detail has failed to support its uniqueness. Its current owner, an anonymous billionaire collector rumored to be part of a royal family with a taste for American relics, has declined all subsequent offers, even ones that reportedly surpass $700 million, claiming the coin as an heirloom that will never return to the market. So next time you find yourself holding a 1964 penny, take a closer look. Examine the date, the mint mark, the alignment, the strike sharpness, and even the metal tone. You never know. You could be holding a piece of copper that history forgot, an unassuming coin that escaped unnoticed into circulation and now lies buried in a dusty box or old coin jar, waiting for someone to realize its worth. The tale of the $650 million 1964 1 cent coin is a testament to how something small, flawed, and nearly invisible to the average eye can become a monumental treasure in the hands of those who understand its story, appreciate its rarity, and dare to look deeper. Keep your eyes sharp, your change jars close, and your curiosity alive.